All right, welcome back to another episode of the VENDO podcast. I'm Darren, I'm your host, CEO of VENDO, and today I'm super excited. Got a couple of people joining me here. First off, as some of our audience already knows him, our Director of Amazon Account Strategist, Vinny. Vinny, say hi.
Hey everybody, excited to be back, but most importantly, excited about our our guest today. Darren, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So super excited. We've been watching Vanessa's content online for quite a while now, and she's been doing some amazing stuff, posting, giving back to the community. She does great work for her clients. And so we thought it was a great time to introduce her more broadly to our audience and just some of her knowledge base, and excited to share and have a great conversation today. So Vanessa Hung, hopefully I'm saying everything correctly here. I'm going to tee up your bio very quickly, and then we'll let the audience meet you here. Vanessa is a problem solver of the unsexy stuff on Amazon, and she began transforming Amazon businesses in 2017. She's the founder and CEO of Online Seller Solutions, and we'll give her a plug and all the contact info after this. She's helped many sellers free themselves from the pain of dealing with and managing their Seller Central account, catalog management. Big plug there. And she's a public speaker, co-host of the podcast Wizards of Ecom in Espanol. Her passion is to share knowledge about strategies, trends, and tips on starting, scaling, and transforming e-commerce businesses, specifically Amazon. For her, every day is a learning day. So, Vanessa, hopefully I got all that right. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you so much, guys. Like Vinny, Darren, it's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, you said it correctly. And you probably don't expect that my last name is like Asian, but I'm actually from Venezuela. So it's like, oh yeah, that's weird. I know.
Not at all. That's interesting. Well, speaking of that, like, what is your background and how did you get started in the online space?
Sure. My background. So I was born and grew up in Venezuela. I moved to the States 5 years ago, and I started working in a company that had retail stores. And I was doing there the back end, like kind of work, like placing orders and working with the wholesale distributors and stuff like that. There are authorized distributors for a lot of big brand names. So they say like, okay, let's start our e-commerce. And we started Amazon from day zero to scale like 7 figures in 10 months. Then we opened the second account, the third account, and they were doing a lot of money. But the thing is, those like the products that they were selling were clothing. And I don't know if you're familiar with clothing, but you have a lot of variations, a lot of colors, a lot of sizes. So I became like an expert in flat files just by having that experience, because I was managing like only one account that had like 80,000 SKUs, which is like huge. So the only way to do it was through flat files. Then here in South Florida, I live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but we have a group called Wizard of Ecom. It's a group of sellers. It was called before Wizard of Amazon. So I got in and I'm like, okay, let me see what's this group about. And sellers were talking things and they were asking questions that I knew very well. And I'll start seeing around and I'm like, how come you don't know this? Like you don't know what a flat file is? Like I was reading flat files every single day. And because I was so isolated in that position, I wasn't like part of any community. I wasn't aware that this like industry existed at all, literally. And then when I got exposed to that, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. This is an opportunity. So I started helping people in that group with technical questions that apparently were very difficult. And for me were like every day. And eventually start consulting. Then my consulting gig was bigger than my full-time job. So I quit that and I became an Instagram full-time Amazon. So that's my handle, because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm all in here. I started creating content and I saw this need in the industry of the unsexy side. Like literally, I know that it's super sexy to talk about the latest PPC strategy, the one that will make you convert a lot of money. And I get it. But if you don't have the foundation in your account, you can lose it all. So if you think that's a given, that's where the problems can start coming up, right? And sellers don't understand that. That's not part of the selling game. So I started creating content, and I founded the agency. And yeah, I this year in January, it was like our anniversary, our first year with the agency. I've been doing it for a long time, but before it was just myself. Now I have a team. I for everything, account managers, content creators, and all of that. So yeah, that's how I started.
Well, that's amazing. First off, I'm sure both Vinny and I have a lot of respect for the unsexy stuff of Amazon. And we would argue, actually, without that stuff, you don't get to anything in other stuff
Yeah.
on Amazon, right? So without the, as we call you, the flat file queen, without that, really, you can't do PPC. You can't do content creation. Like none of that matters if your ASIN's not optimized correctly, set up correctly, cataloged correctly.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
as important there. So, I mean, on that point, with all the changes we're seeing at Amazon, we're seeing a lot of reporting released and things. So we've been guided one way with conversion percents, and all of a sudden they release all this data around mobile data last
Yeah.
week. Now you can see your sessions, but now your conversion percent is much lower than you thought. What's your take, or what are you seeing there as it relates to all of that?
Well, I have one quote, actually I have it here in my desk. It says that let the data set change your mindset. And I think this is huge because I'm a big fan of, again, flat files, Excel. Like I like the numbers, like I like to make informed decisions. So what this data will give you is the opportunity to make better informed decisions. It's shocking that all these years we have been living a lie. So living the lie like,
Yeah.
oh, my conversion rate is this, but
So
no,
true.
it is
Yeah.
not. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how they have keep that information away from sellers. Something that I posted on LinkedIn, and I was like giving thanks to Andy, the new CEO of Amazon, and I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you
Great.
for bringing the AWS to the marketplace.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, I think this will change the game, especially because it will make it more transparent for us to see what are the numbers of the marketplace really, what is our market share. That was something that before nothing. So if we were thinking that Amazon was giving us the accurate information, and that had a lot of discrepancies with whatever software we used to see, like market size and market share, this will give us more accurate data. So we can see like, okay, I thought I had 20% of the market in this keyword. Now I know I have like 8. So what I'm going to do about it? So all those efforts and all that investment that we were doing in PPC and all the optimization, we thought that we were comparing at 25, but actually it's 8. So how can I get to 25? And what are the things that are happening? So I think it's more like making informed decisions. The data by itself, if a seller goes now and download that report and they don't understand what conversion is, what the percentage, like what's the organic market share, what's the PPC market share, if they don't understand how it works, this doesn't make anything for you, really. So you need to start looking into that before you make any kind of decisions for optimization. And now we can tie this with the new brand analytics like dashboards, the two dashboards that we have. So now that we know what's the real conversion, we can see what are the keywords that are converting, like, and the impressions and the conversion rates and the add to carts and the purchase. We now can see the whole funnel and where clients are dropping, the customers are dropping, right? So if we tie those three, so the business report and the search query and the search catalog performance dashboard, we now have a better picture on how our business on Amazon works. And this is big. I think this is like, we were blind before and we're not anymore. So imagine, and this is what is exciting, imagine if we were doing things right with the wrong information. What can we make now that we have the real information, right?
Yeah, and that's what's really exciting about our jobs, right? Just being able to sell on Amazon. But I think you really nailed something that caught my attention: transparency, right? For us at VENDO, we have a large book of business, and our number one job is to make sure that we're transparent to our clients. So right away, the first call to actions that we've done as a business is notify the brands that, hey, Amazon has released a new data point. Now we got to leverage and really understand what that data point means, right? First, conversion rate, like you said, we've been live for a while. So
Yeah.
we can be fully transparent about that. But what is VENDO doing, and what is especially the seller community doing to really maximize and understand that data point? Sure, we can start thinking about mobile optimizations. How can we improve that experience? I think I saw a lot of talk within the community about that. But I think what's more important there is really understanding the conversion factor, right? And really getting down to just the more detailed stuff. And I appreciate all the content that you do put out there. As we were talking earlier, we discovered you, through other conferences, and I think you bringing up these topics to the sellers who are just learning is just going to make everyone more efficient. And just the capability of selling more is out there. It's just how you visualize that data so that it's actionable. That's really
Yeah, and we'll do another podcast, deeper dive, kind of going over the search catalog performance tool and the search query performance tool. That's what Vanessa is referring to for our audience who's not caught up on that. If you go to your brand analytics portal now, there's a green bar there that's basically allowing you to click through to that, assuming your brand registered. And these are the tools that we're now referencing that has a lot more data, including add to cart data, which is something interesting that we've met with that. Well, so I know we've had that before in certain sponsored display, I believe it is. Geffen's going to kill me if I get this wrong, but one of our ad sets did give you some add to cart data. And then also on the brand store backend, there is some add to cart data, or has always been there, but never like as a funnel, never from like the search funnel. And then I remember going back to one of the first $1 billion seller summits, they talked about add to carts being some of the highest ranking juice, quote unquote, for your bestseller ratings. Do you have you experienced that or thought through, does add to cart data matter more? Is it something else? And now that we have that data, is that more impactful?
I think, well, as far as how well it's converting, I don't know how much have been changed since they released that data. Because before it was hidden not only to the sellers that were doing those ads. So honestly, I don't know now how it's behaving. And
Right.
I feel that with this release of data, the way that those points are weighted within the conversion funnel, the whole sales funnel, they may change. We haven't tested and see the results of okay, we were doing that before and now we're doing this. What I really think is impactful there is understanding the relationship between the click and the add to cart and why that is happening. So if you have a great add to cart rate, you go through listing and you understand why. Maybe you're explaining things amazingly, you have a story that is telling you. But if you don't have that, that's where you already know where your failures or your flags are, right?
Yeah.
So
where to
you can
optimize
focus
better
on that.
to get it add to cart. Yeah.
Yes. So now, before, right, we were having okay, this conversation of oh, we are not converting or we are not getting sales, let's optimize or let's invest a lot of money in PPC. But with this information you can tell it's not about spending more money in PPC. Maybe the customer is dropping between the click and the add to cart, so there is something wrong in the listing itself. Before it was okay, we really don't know if it's something in the listing or if it's we need to invest more in PPC or we need to get more impressions. And the same way, from each jump, so from in the funnel, is on the top of the funnel we have the impressions. From the impression to the click, what are the two benchmarks there? Well, three I will say is the image, so important, the title, and the reviews. Well, maybe the price too. So those are the things that they're seeing, that they are getting the impression. And if you have those and nail those, they'll click. If you are really solving their problem and having an appealing image, they'll click. So then when they click, it's your time to perform, right? They already went. So you already know that your PPC, your advertising worked.
Yep.
So now let's go to the listing. When they click, the difference between the clicks and the add to carts. okay, what are you not saying? What is like, maybe the other thing, and I still don't know this with the information, is how much is a drop, or how long can it take a client to add to cart? So some kind of categories, they look, and after, it's like after 3 or 4 listings is that they add to cart the first one that they saw. So either are they counting that? How long is it between it happens? So those are the things that you start playing and start like testing with optimization. Which I think is very important now that we know that, okay, maybe we're converting more in mobile, which is something in the industry in general, because people are more in their phone than they are in their desktop. Right. This is not even like, oh, it's that I convert more in mobile. Like everybody, like in the industry, that's the trend, right?
Yep.
Everything is going mobile. So yes.
Yeah, no. Again, all great points, especially about understanding the funnel fully versus parts of it to optimize for. That's a great call out for sure. I definitely think we've all known for a while that there's been rumors 60-70% of Amazon sales happen on mobile. You've heard varying statistics out in the ethos. My prediction is that with the release of this data, they're going to have to release conversion data by segment. Like they're going to have to say, here's your mobile conversion data and here's your desktop conversion data. Like it only makes sense at that point to help out sellers. So I think with the advent of Brand Story, has been great for mobile, more so than desktop, just because it's right there under the buy box from a content standpoint. So I think you're right that it's like, it's not just about, hey, I got to optimize, or like, where do you need to optimize in the right stage, I think is a great point for sure.
Yes. So also the last optimization will be like between add to cart and purchase.
Yes.
And the main driver there, it's the price.
Yep.
Because technically they're already convinced like your product is what they need, but now they are comparing. So it's like, now that I know that I drop a lot of customers here, I understand that my pricing may be like off somehow. So that's interesting.
Something interesting that I also think could also help with analysis would be time on page, right? We know that that's a factor on the A9 algorithm. So is it that my click is coming into my PDP, my product description page, and just leaving? That's a bounce, right? I really want to be sure to move away from those type of clicks and really nail down my conversion rate. Real quick, just going back to the search query performance, we know that it's 27 different data points that Amazon has given us just off of that release. Amazing. We could do so much with that now. But I think one thing that we were discussing earlier is now that, as we all do, we all use different tools out there to sort of project search demand. Now Amazon has given us that data from within Amazon. So I think it's really cool that we're able to cross-reference every software that we're using with Amazon, right? And see how close we are to really understanding demand at a keyword level, which is amazing. And I think we're just getting started. But just wanted to make that quick call out there. It just gets me excited.
100%. Like, so we're seeing changes in Seller Central, but also the developer side, the IPI, it also have those updates. So eventually we won't have any discrepancy between what the software says and what Amazon says, like, because they will have that accurate data, like straight. So yeah, I think that's super exciting. And going back to the point that you were mentioning before, it's like, what are the things that this give us, like this information give us, is like, it makes sellers more efficient. And honestly, I feel that moving forward, like in the years to come, in e-commerce, it will be everything about efficiency. Before, we were seeing like, okay, we need to get the products there, show it to the clients, project the solution, but customers are used to shop online, so that's a given. Like, we are not like in 2005 where it's like, oh, should I buy a book online or not? Should I do this? No, now it's like automatic. Like, we already have that. Then we have the offers. The people, like in general, like the mass is aware of, you can sell stuff online. No matter where, you can sell online. So now it's a game of efficiency. how efficient can I sell? And I think that the gap between the guys that understand the data and can make informed decisions versus the ones that are still playing the game from 2015, the separation will be huge, and we will have the winners and the guys that will not win. And I think that I'm so excited to see that happening on Amazon, because with all this run, with all this race of like building the business or the Amazon business to exit eventually, they are getting more efficient. So they are starting paying attention. It's not what we used to see anymore. And this also comes with the professionalization of our industry. Before anybody can like flip a book from a garage sale and make tons of money and have a Lamborghini and start a YouTube channel, I think that now it's getting more like professional. So that's where our like position in this space is so important, because we provide those solutions for the people, because they still need to know how to do their business, right? And they have like limited amount of hours, but making them more efficient is what will make them win in the long term. And this is the game I think we are playing right now.
Yeah, I think that's a great pro tip for all of our audience there, especially some of the larger brands that we work with who think, hey, used to be the old days, okay, I got my Amazon guy in the basement that can run things or do things for me, or I got set it and forget it going. No, you almost need a team now against every aspect of Amazon, and the data science alone that offers up, to your point, the opportunities to beat the P&Gs of the world and the larger brands out there that think, oh, I'm never going to compete with Colgate or Crest because I'm a small oral care brand. Well, guess what? We have one of those amazing oral care brands in our portfolio, and we've managed to beat Colgate and Crest because we understand how to rank, how the data works, how to best utilize all the information going out there. So I think that's a great call out on your point. We want to be respectful of your time. Another topic I really was excited to have you on to cover was Spanish. And yo hablo español poquito, so I'm not going to embarrass myself further with any more Spanish. But I will say, we got, I heard it on another podcast, I think you're on, there's about 70 million Spanish speakers in this country alone, let alone the rest of the world, that are ordering on Amazon.com and getting it shipped to them. Talk to us a little bit about kind of the insights you've provided recently, toggling between US, Spanish, some of the results of doing that, best practices for that, just any insights you want to give. I think it's fascinating, and it's a huge call out for anybody.
Perfect. So going back to the data, we had in the industry, we have heard the thing of, okay, input in your backend, input Spanish keywords or advertising Spanish keywords, and it's like, correct. Yes, there is a market there that have that need, that is already buying on Amazon. The problem here that I realized is the disconnection between the content in English and the automatic translation that Amazon give, right? So they started translating the whole experience, the website and the app, in 2017. In 2017, they had a very like rough and not sophisticated like software that translated that, kind of a broken English Google Translate type of thing. And they translate the whole marketplace like that. Some of that, like a lot of that information still live there. Why? Because the system or the algorithm is not, every time a customer comes in and translate their website or change it, it's not even translating the website. They change the experience, because this is not only a translation. The whole Amazon experience changes to Spanish. So when they change the experience, they get the old translation, or the translation that was set at the moment that the listing was set. We cannot tell if that was from 2015 or 2018. But the problem is that the disconnection that is happening right now is huge. So for the sellers that are listening to us right now, go to your Amazon.com and search your product. On the top row where you have your account, there is a flag, which the American flag. When you click there, it gives you two options. It gives you the English option, which is probably the one that you're using, and you have the Spanish option, which is the Spanish speaking, the Spanish experience that I'm talking about. You can do the same in the app, in the shopping app. You need to go to the bottom on the settings and you can change the language. It's the same. So we will see that the content that we have in English is very different sometimes with the content that is in Spanish. Huge discrepancies. I've seen titles that are completely wrong. And this is not even about grammar stuff. I'm not talking about like, they miss the context of this. No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, I said in my product that this is like a 2-pack, and in Spanish is saying that it's a single pack. Or in my title, I'm saying like, no, this is my size and the color. And in the other one, it's not saying anything, right? So if you think about it from the data point that I was, the example that I was giving you at the beginning, is like, you will say in the past, before I knew this, you will say like, well, you know, Spanish keywords and Spanish PPC doesn't really work. Like they don't convert, like keywords don't convert at all. That's BS. And the reason is the customer that is clicking that ad and is seeing your Spanish translation have no clue about what you're selling, about what's the solution you're providing, because Amazon was not or is not doing a great job by translating that, right? So I discovered this loophole in Seller Central where you can go with seller support and request this update. I did twice in 2 different accounts. I did the update with something that I wanted. So I translated, I speak Spanish, obviously. And I just translated the title and I gave it to them and said like, can you please put this title? That worked twice. After that, I haven't seen that work anymore. What they give me now is the ability to update the Spanish translation based on the English copy, on the English SEO, what we have there. So it's fair. It's much better than not having anything, right?
Yep.
It's now, and I see it as a shadow. This is not a different listing. I'm not talking a different SKU. No. It's the same thing. But before, the English is the front and the Spanish is the shadow. We had a discrepancy before where it was not matching. Now we can make that to match if you have that discrepancy. Other things that I have seen in the marketplace is missing bullet points, missing description, completely wrong titles, they translating the name of your brand, which is a huge mistake because most of English brands are like brand name. Yeah. Like you don't translate Nike, you don't translate Coca-Cola, like you don't do that. So when they do it, it's something that in the experience for the Hispanic market, I'll tell you that's terrible. And my point here, I want to help sellers, but my main fuel for this topic is that I want to help the customer that is so used to be underserved. We are so used to see broken Spanish, and for the English speaking community, when you go to a listing and you see that something a native English speaker didn't wrote that, you're like immediately, you can spot that immediately. For the Spanish one, we're so used to that, and it's like underserving. And the worst part is this population first is the fastest growing demographic in the States. Second, 75% of them are millennials, meaning 35 and under. They are online shoppers, native online shoppers. We're missing out we're leaving so much money in the table. And the last thing is they have $2 trillion of consumer spending in a year. So this is a massive market, guys. And the great thing is that we're talking about Amazon, right? This is not go and develop a whole new experience in your Shopify. No. This is as simple as being efficient in the marketplace that is already providing you the opportunity to talk to that market, because other marketplaces don't have that.
Yeah. Well,
as default on my browser, now I just shop in Spanish. I got to make sure that my clients are being served correctly.
Exactly.
Yeah. See, we have in-house translation going, because if I did it, it wouldn't say cabeza, it would say pierna. So and that's your point, is like, it's a completely different thing. Also,
Yeah.
A+ content is sometimes missing on those
Yeah,
pages as well.
everything.
But
Everything.
I'm curious, Vanessa, for our audience, because I believe I heard you can correct that, or you can optimize that better. There's an Amazon team you can reach out to help you translate it better, or there's a way for you to do it yourself, correct?
Yes. Well, you cannot do it yourself.
Okay.
You can request the case. So you open the case with sales support and request the connection or the escalation to the translation team.
Yep.
Or translation contribution team. Those are the ones that are able to update this. You must be aware that if you're doing this through email, probably sometimes, or we have got that before, where the seller support rep says like, that team does not exist. I'm telling you, it does. It exists. But because this is a problem that, honestly, I would like not to think that I'm the first person that spot this. Like, this is ridiculous, guys. If we like, if I needed to see this in 2022 and it's been like since 2017, I just imagine how much money sellers were leaving behind for all these years. But whatever, let's not get there. So some seller support reps don't know about this team. So you need to say like, yes, they exist. Like, can you connect me to somebody? So sometimes it's like they need to ask for advice from their manager. So
Right.
if you're talking over the phone, they're like, okay, let me get back to you. I need to confirm this. And they will get back to you and say like, yeah, you were right. And it's like, yeah, I know. So yes, that's a very easy process. When I find this out, I thought that sellers were able to update their copy in Spanish as you wanted, like customize it and make the copy yourself, the translation yourself. Unfortunately, that's not there yet. And I was like wrong when well, it worked for me, so I was like, okay, this may work for everybody. It's not working anymore, so I don't want you guys, the people that are seeing us right now, say like, okay, I need to get a translator in Spanish. No, you don't need it. You just need to update the translation. So the shadow listing, which is the Spanish one, it's exactly the same as the front, but in Spanish. I start playing with, what if I change something in English, right? And what that translates to in Spanish. And because this is not an automatic connection, so if I change from English to Spanish and I change it, I update the Spanish and then I update again the English, because that there is a disconnection, I will probably make some changes, like some things that I want to say in the Spanish one from the translation in English. So I mean, I'm playing with a very complex thing,
Right.
and this listing could be broken for a day. This is not fun for sellers, but if your market or your target audience is huge in the Hispanic market, or this product is target to them, you could probably be like better off if you start like doing those optimization. But again, this is playing with the system.
And
Absolutely. And I think a lot of these tools that we also use give us search demand in Spanish. So we can start using all these tools to really understand the demand and, to your point, implement strategy and see if there's an impact in conversion there. So totally aligned.
Yeah.
Darren, you were going to say something.
yeah, no, I was just going to say one last point, just to challenge back on what you said there a little bit, to see if you've done this. Yes, you don't need a translator, to your point. Like, that's what the site experience is supposed to present, as an accurate translated experience for the consumer. However, would you find it helpful when you're filing, let's say you file the case versus get on the phone with someone and you're saying, hey, direct this to the Amazon translation department, and sorry, I'm butchering the name, but would you go ahead and get the correct translation, put it in that email? Would you recommend this when you're sending that over and saying, hey, here's what the shadow translation should be, here's where your mistakes are? Like, because we know when filing a case, the more direct and clear you are with your instructions when you're filing a case in English, I would assume if you're doing the same for the Spanish team, would be helpful, or do you recommend, hey, that's a fruitless exercise?
100%. I agree. Like if you want to do that, so we have had success without doing it, but at the beginning I was doing it, especially when I was talking about big catalogs. The thing is here, so I got to understand the system. This is not, so again, I hope I knew from the inside. I hope, like I wish I don't, but it's my perception from my
By the way,
experience.
some of the inside don't even know what's going on the inside.
So I think the translation team can only make like turn that on and off, and they can set apart a special words. So for example, if they know that this is a brand name, they will get back out of the algorithm that translate automatically, and the name of the algorithm is called the neural translation machine. I'm just like bragging because I know the name. Like this doesn't matter, this really doesn't matter, but the neural translation machine will make that jump, will make that translation. So they are able to take off, okay, don't translate the number 2 if you have a number like it's written, don't translate this into something else, don't translate brand names, don't translate what's the other thing they don't translate, like model numbers and part numbers, they don't translate that. So they can like make this formula, but the system makes the translation itself. So that's where I don't think they have the power to say like, okay, let's just like upload what their seller is telling us. I want to make so much noise that somebody in Amazon listens to me and say like, why don't we give sellers this opportunity? Like, that's the other thing. I in the presentation that you saw in VDSS, they already have, when you click in the edit in Seller Central, they already have like a bottom down menu that you can click and you can change the information that you're inputting. Now what I have seen is just English and Chinese. So if you already have that possibility, why not to give the seller the opportunity to optimize for that market? Like, you know, so I think that Andy will hear me and Andy will make this happen. And I have so much faith, like it's been like amazing for the marketplace. And I hope that the more data and the more systems, and we haven't even talked about all the changes within dashboards and programs that they're giving to sellers now. That before was like, for example, the compliance part. Before you needed to find out with, I don't know, a lawyer, what are the requirements that you need to sell a product on the marketplace. Now we have the compliance dashboard. And literally you put the category that you want to sell, the type of product that you want to sell, and they tell you everything, not even what Amazon asks you, but what the government, the federal government asks you. So I mean, I'm so like hopeful that this will happen, and I'm so excited about the future, and I hope that the Spanish market gets like taken care of, and I'm in that mission. Like, yes,
I love it, and I think that's also Amazon's mission, because they also want to expand internationally, right? So I'm pretty sure, though, as they make headways within the marketplaces that they're expanding, just because they want to take some of that market share from other dominant marketplaces that, you know, other countries have, I'm sure they'll get there right away, because it's a revenue opportunity for them.
Yes, I think the next big move for them. So they already have Mexico. That's a like not super young marketplace, but they are in Colombia, just 1P, just Amazon, and they open Brazil too. Now we have 3P and 1P in Brazil, and so I mean, their next move is Latin America. I'm sure of that. I'm sure. The thing is, like, you cannot even make it right in the US. Can you please? Can you please?
So they're gonna go after Mercado Libre over in Latin America.
For sure.
They have to. So, Senor Jassy, if you're listening to us, you heard what Vanessa said. Please give us the right tools to make a better customer experience. As we all know, you have to put in any case filing, customer experience first.
Literally.
Vanessa, I think we can keep talking about this for hours, and I can keep butchering the Spanish language for hours. So, but please, as we wrap this up and bring this home, is there any other parting advice or any tips you'd like to give our audience please, would love for you to share any final comments.
Well, the first thing that after you like hear this or see this, go to your listings and check if there are good translation. You can probably ask a friend or put it on, well, but maybe not on Facebook, but find somebody that knows Spanish and see if they're accurate. If there is any discrepancy, you will notice very quick. So you will notice that your title has, like, instead of 250, it has 100 characters, that you're missing bullet points, that you're missing description. That's very obvious. And I already told you how to fix it. So you don't really need us to do it. But we also offer that service. The other thing is keep up with I understand for sellers, there are so much to learn and there are so many things that change all the time. So make sure to follow the right people and make sure to stay updated with the policies, with the changes, because we are like drastically changing every single week. Is something different. So don't get comfortable. That's my thing. Like, don't get comfortable. And as you said in my introduction, in my bio, it's like every day is a learning day. Every day it's like I'm new to Amazon. I don't know anything. Like, I've been doing this for a while, but every single day they surprise me with something. So don't get comfortable and start like seeing this in a more like data set like kind of marketplace, rather than just like, oh, I sell something, that's good. Yeah.
That's awesome, Vanessa. Thank you so much for everything. How can we'll put this obviously in the show notes and link, but tell our audience, how can people get a hold of you?
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook by Full-Time Amazon. So we do there very small bites of information from programs. We really make that like 101. Also, I'm very active in LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, I share content that is a little bit more complex, because the people that see me there, they sometimes know what they're talking about. So, I have the room to be more technical, right?
Yep.
My agency is called Online Seller Solutions. If you go to onlinesellersolutions.com, you can see all the things that we do. We do Amazon account management, is everything in Seller Central, but PPC, we don't do PPC. And yeah, that's that. I'm working right now in a like kind of mini course for flat files.
Okay.
So I'll release that, like it will be a flat file challenge, and I'll release that through the newsletter. So if you subscribe to my website, you will get it. It's gonna be completely for free. So you're gonna get like a mastermind of like what to do with flat files and all the stuff. I'm very excited about that, actually. It's gonna be my first time and yeah, doing something like this. So I hope that I help people, and I know this sometimes it's like very complex, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible.
Vinny, yeah, we're excited for that. Maybe we need to have a knockout fight between our flat file king, Mr. Soroka over there, and flat file queen, Ms. Hung over here. See the battle of a good topic. Absolutely.
We're gonna be the queen and the king of the prom. Perfect.
Perfect, exactly. And then Mr. Jassy will be the DJ, so it's totally fun.
Oh, amazing.
Exactly.
Please.
Amazing. Play all those hits.
Before we close, Vanessa, I just wanted to say what you're doing out there is amazing. We became followers. We became fans of your content. Please get technical on LinkedIn. We love it.
Thank you.
And, we do appreciate the time you spent with us, and all this knowledge to all of us out there, to all the listeners out there. Reach out to VENDO if you have any questions as well. We develop SOPs for so many pipelines, for example, what we just covered today, to ensure that we're covering the baselines across all of our different categories, all of our different products within Amazon. And as Vanessa said, things are changing every day. So it's amazing.
Well, we'll be working on our Spanish. We already are internally pivoting. So maybe there's a partnership we do with Vanessa to help with the Spanish version of VENDO here. But Vanessa, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
And until next time, everybody, remember, protect your brand and sell more. And you can find us at vendocommerce.com. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.